Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Jeremy Schumacher. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm the Jer and Wellness with Jer. Thanks for stopping by and checking out the channel today. We're back with a movie review. A solid B movie. But I went to go see it in theaters because it had an interesting premise. It didn't quite deliver. Um, but yeah, it was fun. Sometimes like B movies are just fun. Like I'm not putting it up there as like cult classic of Van Helsing because Van Helsing is a bad movie that is very watchable. I would just say this is a very watchable film. It has some okay commentary. The commentary is pretty good. I just don't know that I don't know. It's a movie about mythical creatures. So the commentary is good, and I don't know. It's also kind of like a horror film about unicorns murdering people. Unicorns defending their nest cave, their fallen child. Um, so yeah, film Death of a Unicorn stars Jenna Ortega, who I guess I haven't seen in anything else. Like I never watched Wednesday and any of the other big things she's been in. She's apparently a very small human because I'm pretty sure Paul Rudd's very small, and she's very small next to Paul Rudd, which was distracting for me for a moment while I was watching. The CGI is not very good in this film, which maybe also made me think of Van Helsing because, like, I don't know. The CGI in Van Helsing is almost bad enough that it's like fine. The unicorns are like fine. I'm sure it costs just an outlandish amount of money to have like good quality CGI for a film like this, so it was fine. Will Poulter is in this film as sort of a side character, and he definitely is the most engaging part of the movie. He's just such a twat in it, but that's a lot of the humor. And then Griff, who's sort of like the butler in the house, is played by shoot, I'm drawing a blank on his name. I looked it up right before we started. He was in Barry as NoHo Hank, which is how I know him. I believe he was also Victor Zsasz in Gotham. Um, so some humor there. The movie is about whoops, we're on our way. A dad and his daughter who don't have a great relationship since the mom died, are on their way to basically like get the dad a partnership with this wealthy pharmaceutical company. He's a lawyer and he's going to meet them, and he needs it to be a family event. Huzzah. And they hit a unicorn on the way and hijinks ensue. Namely, a bunch of people get gored to death by unicorn horns. Um, and that's the film. Really. Perhaps there's some psychedelic tripping that happens when you touch a unicorn horn. The film draws from the real life Tapestry series, um, which has a couple goes by a couple different things. It's based on some medieval paintings about a unicorn. That part of the reason I'm doing the review of this movie is because of that actual stuff behind it. But also the class consciousness in the film is not bad. Um, the character played by Jenna Ortega is like deeply skeptical of this family because they're a big pharma family, and she's like, "Why would you want to work with them?" They learn that the unicorn blood cures her acne, cures the dad's short sightedness. So then they're like, "Well, we need to harvest this unicorn blood and sell it." And since there's only one unicorn, they need to just like give it away to the highest bidder to enrich themselves. And so it's interesting to sort of see the doctors are not taken into consideration over and over by the family, even though like the doctors are what makes everything possible. Griff, the butler, is not taken into consideration, even though he like waits on them hand and foot. At one point, he's like, "I have kids," and the mom of the rich, wealthy, basically the Sackler family in the movie is like, "You do?" And he's worked for them for like a decade plus. So like, yeah, I don't know that it's like breaking a ton of new ground. I think obviously having a family that owns big pharma is pretty like, I want to say heavy-handed. It's a touch heavy-handed. Um, and Paul Rudd's character is again a lawyer, and everything he's doing to his teenage daughter is like, "Why are you doing this? This family's the worst. Why are you like that?" And from his perspective, he's all like, ever since your mom died, I've done everything to protect you. This sets us up for life. Like, I need to do this to protect you. And she's sort of like, you don't, though. But he's just sort of one track mind in that, probably from some grief, but the movie doesn't really lean into that too much, that he's dealing with some grief. Although when everyone touches the unicorn horn, they basically have a psychedelic trip, and they all are sort of like, Jenna Ortega and Paul Rudd's characters like, mom's there waiting for us. So like they're okay with, spoiler alerts, potentially dying at the end of the film. Sort of open-ended, but I liked the movie better if it ends with them dying. Even though I'm skeptical of like let's die on purpose so that we can get to the afterlife, because I don't think that's a thing. So I don't love that messaging, I guess. But the movie's a better movie if the unicorns, whatever, kill everyone at the end. It's a nice movie when Mother Nature wins out and humans who are terrible and awful actually have some consequences. So one of the other videos that has probably gone up on my YouTube recently that I recorded recently is talking about White Lotus, which is also a satire on class consciousness, and how rich people really never are held to any sort of consequence for their awfulness. And so Death of a Unicorn, while being a simpler story than White Lotus, was a more satisfying narrative in the sense that like the bad guys also got gored to death by unicorn horns, and or kicked in the face to death, or ripped apart by two different unicorns. There's some gory death. Like, the film is a black comedy, but it's also has elements of horror. The full-grown adult unicorns that are defending their child unicorn, who is the baby pony, a pony unicorn, I don't know, that was hit by a car and then shot after it came back to life. So like, yeah, they're like monstrous, they have sharp teeth for some reason. So it's a little bit of like a creature horror flick when the adult full-grown unicorns show up. So whatever. Will Poulter is again Sheppy, as his super wealthy parents call him, is the worst in this film. At one point, he's wearing like very short white shorts and a long sleeve black turtleneck, which is awful. Yeah, he's just the worst. He's very much like the epitome of like kid born into wealth who has no real world experience and is just a twat. So like, yeah, he starts being like, I have a mixology background, and he makes a drink out of the unicorn blood, using the blood as bitters. He snorts a bunch of the unicorn horn after it's ground up. So like, rich kid, cocaine problem, Trump Jr., pick a rich person's kid, and like, yep. But he is very dense to the point of like being pretty funny. And Will Poulter just plays the hell out of the character. So I would say like that's the comedic relief, even though you dislike this character. He's dislikable in a way that is humorous, and you're excited for him to get his eventual comeuppance, which he does. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I laughed out loud a couple times. I happened to see this movie in a great setting, so I'm super biased in that I went with my wife, and we were the only two people in the theater, which is my absolute favorite way to watch a movie. I love the theater experience. Give me a gigantic screen and reclining chairs and just really loud stereo sound, but also give me 0 other people viewing that with me. 2 thumbs up. Love it. Some of my favorite films are just because I happened to be the only person seeing that film in theater at the time. So yeah, let's talk about the unicorn tapestries. So like, this is a real set of tapestries that exists that sort of were lost in time through the French Revolution, and then like found in a farmer's barn hundreds of years later, that have been like touched up and preserved and whatever. But parts of them are missing. So we not only don't know what order the tapestries are supposed to hang in, we don't really know what they're supposed to signify. And where my expertise in coming in to talk about some of this as a mental health professional who works with religious trauma comes in, is like, the tapestries for a long time were thought to be an allegory for Christ, but like that doesn't make any sense, obviously. as we'll get to. But like, it shows that like the church's stranglehold on anything artistic, on the idea that like anyone who happens to be in a movie with their arms outspread is an allegory for Christ, side eyeing like any movie that Zack Snyder has made. Um, and that like it's really just sort of dulled sort of any thematic messaging that could be there. um so the movie diverges by having a fictional panel, or they find the missing portions of the portraits, and that shows the unicorns getting revenge, which then sets up that there's more than one unicorn, and they're also going to come and kill everyone. But this idea that the unicorn can be resurrected, again, like depends on how you read the panels. I would tend to argue that that presupposes it's a Christian allegory, and therefore that only makes sense when you put the panels in that order. Um, it's a unicorn being sort of pacified by a fair maiden, a virgin, and so people go, "Oh, virgin birth, Jesus." And like again, I think that's cognitive biases. Like I think that is presupposing everything has to be about Christ, especially from this time frame, when I don't know that it makes a ton of sense that way. It certainly could be interpreted other ways. One of the other main interpretations is that it is about marriage, in that this group of hunters go out, and it's men, it's boys, and sort of this idea of like this rowdy group of boys is out, and then one of them is, um, eventually wooed by a fair maiden. And so it's about like love leading to settling down, question mark. Again, I don't think that interpretation is like great in modern times. Like the interpretation might be correct, but again, this idea of marriage as like dudes get to be out there sowing their seeds, and then finally they find the right fair maiden to settle down for, is obviously very patriarchal and misogynistic. Um and it could just sort of be this idea of like an untamed beast, and could be like that mythical thing of mother nature versus mankind spreading out. Again, like pre-industrial revolution, I don't know how relevant that was as far as an artistic theme. The other thing is just like it could have not meant a whole lot. It could have just been a bit of a theme of wild beast tamed by fair maiden is like a theme in other artwork at that time. It seems as if the tapestries would have been a bedroom decoration for somebody who was wealthy, but not like, you know Louis the 14th wealthy, um who used the French economy as his own personal bank account. So whatever. That's a bad example. But so some level of wealth to have this 5 to 7 panel tapestry set on a wall. But like it could have just been like, if you walk into a kid's bedroom and it has Monsters Inc. on it, it's because it's a story from this time, not necessarily like you're going to read into it that like, hey, corporate greed is really bad, because that is what Monsters Inc. is about. But it's this idea, so it could have just been like a common storytelling trope at that time that somebody wanted to decorate their kid's room with, and it might not mean that much. And because it is old and people were like, see Jesus, therefore it has meaning, then it got preserved. Which again, like the church writ large, capital C church, has destroyed a ton of art that wasn't Christian or was about marginalized communities or women or, whatever. And they've been the monsters all along. Still are. As the Catholic Church actively spends millions of dollars to not have to pay victims of being sexually abused by the priests. So again, that forcing a Christian reading on things says like, isn't Jesus the good guy, and aren't we the good guys therefore, when like they're the people hunting down the unicorn and killing it and ending its beauty and also ruining fair maidens, or forcing maidens to be fair. I don't know where I'm going with this. That they're the monsters, right? I was trying to get to a segue where it was like maybe it was the friends we made along the way, but like it's just not coming together in my head. um so yeah, I don't know. I think like when this movie comes out on streaming, a lot of people will watch it and enjoy it because it is an enjoyable flick. I don't think it's going to drive a ton of interest into these tapestries. I don't know a lot of people who are gonna watch the movie and be like, "I wonder if those tapestries are real," and look it up other than me. Other, like, probably neurodivergent folks, I'm not saying my brain's unique in that way. Um, but yeah, it was fun. I like A24 films, so, like, a little bias there of just like, yeah, I'm gonna go see a movie from this smaller company that's made a ton of great films that are thinking pieces. This wasn't one of those. Um, but it wasn't all fluff in the way that I think, like, some horror films can just be like it wasn't a slasher film, even though there's lots of gory unicorn horns piercing people. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It seemed to suggest like a happy ending afterlife, which I'm deeply skeptical of. Again, as a religious trauma therapist, I see that trope, that storytelling just be used a lot of ways to abuse people. And we don't have any evidence of that. We don't have evidence that it isn't there. But again, it's then we're just making stuff up. And to provide comfort, sure, I could see where that is good. And also just so skeptical of it because it gets misused all the time. Give all your money to the church and you'll get a better place in heaven. And like even that, you'll get your mansion, which is a poor understanding of a translation. Because we take the cultural context out of like you're not promised a mansion. It's just culturally when you used to get married, you built a house, a room on your father's house with your new bride. And so a room with many houses isn't like you get your own mansion. It's like it's a cultural thing. Whatever. This is not a commentary on biblical scholarship. There are other people who do deep dives on that and do it really well. So, yeah, the church is the worst. We should protect animals. As much as the CGI wasn't good, my wife was very mad about killing of the unicorn that is um, not dead after it gets hit by the car. So they kill it and then it comes back to life because there's the resurrection piece in there, which again is reading into the tapestries a certain way, but I don't know. It was fine. It was fun. I'm at 17 minutes of recording, and like that's probably enough. It's not the best film I've seen in a while. It was fun. I laughed out loud at a couple parts. Um, if you're into like the horror and the gore of it, like there's some good um, grisly deaths that I wouldn't say were like overly gratuitous. It's not like watching an episode of The Boys, but it's you know got an R rating. So I don't know. It was fun. It's a fun little romp if like the gore is not going to bother you. It has a little bit to say about class consciousness and how wealthy people, and especially people who are getting wealthy off of pharmaceuticals, are kind of the worst. Um, uh, the best line there is like when the dad is explaining to the daughter that like when your mom died, I promised to protect you, and she says like these rich assholes wouldn't have given mom the medicine she needed to be saved. Like that's pretty poignant delivery. Jenna Ortega, I don't want to. I highlighted Will Poulter, but Jenna Ortega is very good in this film too. To the point that when I said I haven't watched any of her other sort of star making shows, I probably should go back and do that because she was good. Paul Rudd is his congenial, likable self, even though he's not the best character in this film. So yeah, I don't know. When it drops on streaming, go see it. If you love to see a movie in theater with no one else in it, go see it on a random evening when there's no one there or during the day. Go see it whenever you want. I don't know. Support local theaters. And also, if that's not your vibe, and I didn't give this two thumbs way up 5-star rating, this is a solid B movie. Yeah, watch it when it comes out on streaming. I think it is entertaining for a few hours for sure. So yeah, let's see. Other things that are coming up on the channel here. Um, on my podcast, I have guests again. It's not just gonna be solo stuff. So check out Your Therapist Needs Therapy, wherever you listen to podcasts, or I post the audio here on the YouTube channel. Continuing to work through White Lotus. I'm probably going to do a Righteous Gemstones video to talk about the religious trauma aspect in that show. Um, Otherwise, Milwaukee Film Fest is coming up soon, so I'm sure I'll see a lot of films there and have things to say about them. But drop down in the comments, like and subscribe, do all those YouTubey things that helps people find me if they want to work with me. And if there's anything you want to hear me do a breakdown of, drop down and put that in the comments. All right, y'all. Take care of yourself. Take care of somebody else. Watch out for unicorns when you're driving in the Slovenian mountains. Peace.